me personally, I just hate to deal with it again. You know, it's just too big of a piece to our team. You know, and have to deal with another training camp. So, you know, like I said, you know, hopefully things get resolved fast. You know, because we know how big and important it is to our team.
The Kings over the nonsense. That was LeBron James on the Cavs contract situation with J.R. Smith, who did not pick up his $5.3 million player option for the 2016-17 season in July, becoming an unrestricted free agent. Now, multiple sources have told ESPN that the Cavs have offered a 3-year escalating contract to Smith with a partial guarantee in the 4th year, bringing the total guaranteed money north of $42 million. Stephen A., what are the Cavs doing here?
We don't know. And the reason that we don't know is because JR's side has one story, the Cavaliers have another.
Okay.
The Cavaliers, according to sources within the organization, swear that they've not only given J.R. Smith the largest offer out there, they've given him the only offer out there. And obviously they are about the business of saying, hey, go ahead, test your market value, and then you'll appreciate what we're bringing to the table in terms of what we're willing to give you. That is what they would like to say. My response to that, and J.R. Smith's response to that is, wait a minute here. We're the reigning defending NBA champions. I am a starting 2 guard in this league. I just watched Eric Gordon, who missed about 37 games last year in New Orleans, sign a 4-year, $53 million contract with the Houston Rockets. He's not an NBA champion. He's missed an average of 29 games per year. I've been reliable. I scored 10 straight points in the Game 7. I finished with 20 in that Game 7. I was a pivotal component towards the Cavaliers winning the championship. I was willing to guard Steph 1 minute, Clay another, Iguodala another, Barnes another, at times Draymond Green. And again, I have the king, LeBron James, validating my importance to this team. And so for me, I understand both sides, but I must confess that I favor J.R. Smith, and here's why. A lot of people are pointing the finger at David Griffin, the general manager. I happen to be a fan of David Griffin. I think that he's done a good job. When you consider some of the deals that he's made, Iman Shumpert, Timothy Mozgov, J.R. Smith, and others, what he's been able to acquire, some of the missing pieces. You know, I don't think he should have paid Kevin Love $113 million, even though I think Kevin Love is worth dollars, just not $113 million. I think overall, David Griffin has done a good job. My issue is with Dan Gilbert. See, Mark Stein, our very own Mark Stein, who does a fabulous job covering the NBA for us, wrote something in last month's ESPN.com talking about the J.R. Smith deal. He says even if they pay J.R., because he wants 15 to 17 million per, even if they pay J.R., the tax bill for Cleveland is projected to drop an estimated 35%. So the $54 million you paid in tax revenue, it's going to dip by about 35%. And that's not until this coming July, all right, after you sign JR. So considering all of that, the gaming rights to the casino that LeBron James being in Cleveland years ago helped Dan Gilbert get, some of the other ancillary benefits in the business world that extends far beyond, you know, basketball, the money that Dan Gilbert has been able to generate, LeBron James is easily worth in excess of $400 million in terms of the money that he's put into Dan Gilbert and the Cleveland Cavaliers' pockets. And you tripping over this? Come on now.
Dan Gilbert is a bad and obnoxious owner. It's always been that way since that stupid letter he penned about LeBron when he left. The only thing Dan Gilbert's ever done good for the Cavs is he happened to own a team, the closest team to where LeBron James grew up. That's it. So LeBron wanted to go back there because it's home. That's the only, and then Dan Gilbert kissed the ring so he could make it. That's it. That's the only thing Dan Gilbert did as an owner. He's a terrible and obnoxious owner. Even the letter, he complained and cried like a baby when the Lakers pulled off the trade to Chris Paul, helped shoot that down. It was ridiculous. You know, it was ridiculous. He complained that the Lakers saved money and got the best player in the deal. But wait a minute, if the Lakers save, you're mad because they're not paying more luxury tax to you who takes that money and pockets it. I really don't like anything about Dan Gilbert, the owner. So if the team and the players' reps are saying two different things, I tend, if it's a Dan Gilbert team, to believe the players' reps and not believe the team. But let's talk about what's actually going on here with, like, why are they treating J.R. Smith this way? Here's my analysis, Stephen A. I think the Cavs are basically looking at LeBron and saying, hey, you make everyone good. You make everyone good. So what do we need to pay J.R. Smith for? He won anything, then we brought him here, and all of a sudden he's our best perimeter defender and knocking down threes? Well, we could do that with the next guy. We don't have to give him 15 to 17 million. No, no, no. LeBron James brings the best out of everyone, but the material's gotta be there first. Like the genius of LeBron, the reason, you know, Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan had a baby and it was LeBron James is because you can see him do the one-on-one stuff and it's as good as anyone in the league can do it, or better. But it's actually his ability to elevate everyone around him, a la Magic Johnson, that made him different than Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant. So he can bring the best out of you, but it's got to be there. J.R. Smith has always been, if not an elite talent, the next thing to it. He could knock down a three. Well, he could jump through the gym. He could do all these things. And LeBron also made him an excellent defender. That doesn't mean he can do it with a scrub.
Let's point out some very, very important things before we finish off with this segment. J.R. Smith has turned his life around. Married, settled down, chilling out, ain't running the streets like he was in New York. He deserves a lot of credit for that. LeBron deserves a lot of credit for that. Point number one. Point number two. You have every right to say that about Dan Gilbert. I'm in no position to disagree with you, not just because of the letter that he penned, but because clearly they're on opposite ends of the spectrum. I mean, it's even got, listen, first of all, they've only had about a couple of dinners together. They barely even talk to one another, Dan Gilbert and LeBron. And if I were LeBron, I mean, I would have never looked at the man again, let alone talk to him again after that damn letter that he wrote. Some of LeBron's boys still can't stand Dan Gilbert because they still haven't let go of that letter. Number three, LeBron is frustrated, regardless of what the Cleveland Cavaliers are saying, because I know better in terms of that. Because LeBron feels like he got to carry the refrigerator, open the freezer, he's got to do everything, and they don't give a damn because they will run him into the ground. That's what his concern was when he left Cleveland the first time. Number four, to highlight and illuminate even further how opposite ends of the spectrum that they're on. Far be it for me to bring up our presidential candidates, Donald Trump and Hillary Rodham Clinton. LeBron James just endorsed her. Okay. That was after Dan Gilbert not only endorsed Trump, but had a fundraising part from what I'm told. From what I'm told, he had I don't know. I guess it's a fundraising party at his house for Trump. They are on opposite ends of the spectrum in every regard.
He had a fundraiser at his house for Trump. That's all you need to know about Dan Gilbert. Let me tell you something. Remember what he wrote originally about LeBron and what he was saying about LeBron when he left? Just to give you the crybaby, entitled nonsense, just so stupid, how he was talking about after everything he did for LeBron. Dan Gilbert, you're the owner in a salary cap league. You didn't do anything for LeBron. He was drafted to your team because he was going to be the #1 pick. You were lucky enough to get him. And then you gave him the max contract that every single owner in the league would have given him. In fact, it was capped at much, much lower than he was actually worth.
Than he deserves.
You've never done anything for LeBron James. That's a one-way relationship. LeBron does for Dan Gilbert.
By the way, last but not least, small market team, Cleveland Cavaliers. I believe, I got to double check this, but I believe they're the 6th most profitable franchise in the entire NBA. And this is in Cleveland. Yeah. Not New York, not L.A. It's 2 teams in L.A.
I'd be keeping the king
2 teams
happy.
in New York. 2 teams in New York, 2 teams in L.A. There's also one in South Beach, okay? 6th most profitable team in the entire NBA. That is all about LeBron. He wants J.R. Smith. I'm not pointing fingers or blaming anybody. Get J.R. signed because LeBron says so. That's why you should do it, because that's who he needs.
I think we all agree with that one.
Low snap. Derek looking. Derek going to lob over the end zone for Crabtree. Did he get both feet down? Touchdown! Raiders! Michael Crabtree did it again! His 3rd touchdown of the game!
The Raiders are turning heads this season with a 3-1 record. Their wins weren't easy either. All of them on the road in Eastern and Central time zones against the Saints, Titans, and Ravens. The Falcons, their sole loss. The Raiders sit just 1 game behind the Broncos in the AFC West. Stephen A., are you buying the Raiders as contenders?
Yes, I am. Contenders in terms of not Super Bowl contenders, but I do believe that they will make the playoffs. I think this is the first time, and I think they've missed the playoffs for like 14 straight years. In the past, particularly when they let go of Hugh Jackson, I was really on the GM McKenzie. Not anymore. I think that when you look at what they've built in Oakland, it's incredibly impressive. Now, they got to get ready to get on their knees and just, and break the bank to give to, Khalil Mack, because he is the Mack daddy. He is the man. No question about it. But so is Derek Carr. 9 touchdowns, just 1 interception, complete 68% of his passes, already thrown for over 1,000 yards in the first 4 games of this season. Latavius Murray, they got a 3-headed running attack. Latavius Murray, this kid, DeAndre Washington and Jalen Richards, both averaging better than 4 yards a carry. Very impressive. I thought it was about Amari Cooper. I really, really did, because I love me some Amari Cooper, okay? The boy was big time coming out of Alabama. He has lived up to the hype and then some. But my Lord, Michael Crabtree, talk about a rebirth. I mean, this brother shows up. Crabtree is handling his business, and it seems ideal that he's your secondary option at the receiver spot. Experienced, and knows what he's doing, knows how to play the game. He wasn't a number 1 in San Francisco, which Richard Sherman showed us, but at the same time, he's a quality number 2 guy with Amari Cooper there with him. I like what I'm seeing offensively. Defensively, they got to defend the pass better. There's no question about it, because they're ranked dead last. They got to do a better job. But I'm a fan of Jack Del Rio and the job that he has done. I'm a fan of their coaching staff. That mystique of Raider Nation, to me, is coming back. They got to do something better with Khalil, because, again, you got to get Khalil Mack some help. But then I look at the schedule, Max. Let's look at this. They're 3-1 now, 3 consecutive road wins, all right, to open the season. Hasn't been done in a long time by them. But then you got Kansas City, Jacksonville, Tampa. Of course, you got Denver at home. You got Houston at home on a Monday night. You got a struggling Carolina Panther team, Buffalo. I mean, don't get me wrong, their schedule is quality, but it's not a death knell.
Right.
They can win some of these games. And with the way the Jets and Buffalo have looked in the AFC East, with the way the AFC, you got competition in the AFC North. I only think the winner of the South will come out. I think they got a shot to compete with one of the teams in the North for that second wild card spot. I think this is the year the Raiders make the playoffs.
They do have a shot to make the playoffs. In that sense, they're contenders. But when I hear are they contenders, I think are they Super Bowl contenders? And I think everyone is a year early on that. Everyone sees it coming, so everyone wanted to be the first one to say, oh, watch the Raiders.
Right.
The Raiders are not Super Bowl contenders this year because they don't play defense. Now, Khalil Mack, let's start. First of all, everyone knows Carr's excellent. Amari Cooper's excellent. No question about it. But this NFL, it's almost like baseball during the PED era. Not that they're totally out of the game, but when it was running rampant. There was so much offense, these pitchers had to figure out a way to get these monsters out, right? Then you take the PEDs out, the pitchers have gotten better, and now, until very recently, offense was way down. Yeah. The response to the rules changes in the NFL and the aerial attacks have been sophisticated defenses that, in fact, nowadays when you look, who do I really like to win the Super Bowl? I know you don't like Minnesota, but I think they're one of the leading candidates now. Certainly the Broncos, as they did last year. Carolina had a great defense. Seattle has a great defense. The teams you really like are the really good defensive ones. As a response to these high-flying offenses, the Raiders have the offense down, but the defense, I talked about expected points allowed. That compares you to league average.
Sure.
They're 6th worst defensively by expected points allowed. And you brought up Khalil Mack, who I think Aaron Donald's probably the best defender right now in the NFL, at least, up front. Khalil Mack
He's
is
dual
right. Yeah, he is.
Linebacker, defensive end.
I like it much
Pro
better.
Bowl in 2 positions.
I like it much better when he's basically a linebacker than when he's now. It looks to me like he's basically
I like him moving around. I like him moving around.
Okay, let's look.
Right.
This year,
he's only
1 sack so far. Last year, 15, which means just about a sack a game.
Okay, but they're keying more on him now.
Well, also, but he's got his hand in the dirt at defensive end. It's different. He's not as his skills are not as on display. He's not being deployed as well, I think, from this position. 17 disrupted dropbacks last year, 1 so far this year. So the good news for the Raiders is, as they figure out how exactly they want to deploy Khalil Mack, the defense can get better. But I don't think better enough. Like last year, they were middle-of-the-pack defense.
Right.
This year, they're on the bottom.
Right.
I think they're still a draft away and from bringing in enough defensive players.
That's fair, because
I'm
about the playoffs. I'm not talking Super Bowl. Not with New England, Denver, and Pittsburgh in the AFC. I'm not saying that. But let's also point this out. Don't just bring up Khalil Mack. In 4 games, the Oakland Raiders have 5 sacks. That's nothing. I mean, that's nothing, all right? Their leading sacker is Bruce Irvin. He's got 2. But you acquired him in the offseason. What I'm saying to you is this. Let's look at what they're doing offensively, and let's look at how they're going to try to compensate. Derek Carr's only been sacked twice this year. Twice in 4 games. That's it. Okay, he's got 9 touchdowns, just 1 interception. You're protecting him. The running backs running the football effectively with Latavius Murray. Okay, he's averaging 4.3 yards a carry. DeAndre Washington is averaging 6.4 yards a carry. You've got Jalen Richards averaging 8.5 yards a carry. You've got blockers. They're protecting the quarterback. Plus, they're opening holes to run the football effectively. That means you can move the chains because you got to worry about Derek Carr, who's got a strong enough arm to throw outside the numbers. You got to worry about this offense, and I think that compensates for some of it, which is why I got them being a playoff team.
Look, my takeaway from the Raiders is deploy Khalil Mack correctly. That dude is different. That is a special talent.
No question.